Hello and welcome to Frank's School, 103rd day of the third year. I'm going on now with class vocabulary. Well, I had no comments. This is a tough audience to get going with class vocabulary. But Frank's there, good old Frank. I don't know what I'd do without him. And he's got a sentence for using all three. His sentence goes like this. It seemed that the carpenters brooded. Aha, you see, he's using the sentence from Michael from the time before. It seemed that the carpenters brooded for aye, so I kindled my Kindle and studied the corpus. Well, he's picking up on the fact that Kindle is a modern invention, that you can read from. Here it's a verb, here it's a noun, and I think the kids would have known that word. I don't know if I would have taken it as a noun, they would have known it. As a matter of fact, somebody that I tried to get, I'll call her Jess, I tried to get her to write me a sentence, immediately used it like what you read from, and I said, no, this is a verb. And studied the corpus. Now, sometimes kids have no idea what a word means, and so they'll just put it in. And so I say, no, you've got to prove to me in your sentence that you know what the word means. This would work, because it's something he studied on a Kindle. He read it. So, this would work. So, good. Thanks, Frank. I hope that we get you and I get some help from somebody else. But anyway, we'll go on now for the next three words of this week. We have 6 so far, 7, 8, and 9. We'll get today. So I'll be right back with the second shot. Hello again. I'm back, and Frank's been at it again. He's got these words. Well, let me pretend that Frank isn't the only one. But let's say that Susie, she's begun to look at this same corpus, and she's come up with some words. Of course, these words are coming from Christmas carols, as I explained. All right, Susie, what's your word? She says portals, 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 and I'd write it. And is that spelled right? Yep, spelled right. What's your context, Susie? Fling wide your portals, Zion. And so I'd write that out. Is that right? Yeah, that's right. Okay, does anybody, and by the way, does anyone know what Zion means? Zion? And I feel free to stop and explain. That's not our vocabulary word, but that's, and notice it's capitalized. I would not take that. That's a proper noun. Zion is an old name for the nation of Israel, as I understand it. Anyone know what part of speech it is? That you should guess. If you can fling them wide, they must be something. Sure, that's right. Or I'd take guesses. Frank, Elizabeth, Jess, Michael. They all think it's a noun. Sure enough, it is a noun. It's naming something. All right. Anybody know what it names? Get various guesses. And eventually I'd come back to Susie and she would say it means gates. And I would put, she might say gate, because in the dictionary it said a portal is a gate. But I would put an S on it to make it parallel. That's why it's easier to study that way. So gates, or large imposing gates. How about the etymology? Anybody want to guess what language this comes from? Well, and I might say, you've heard of a port, a city that is a port where ships come in, and some of you mechanics might even know that a carburetor has ports. If you transport something, anyone would want to guess, and eventually they'd come around to Latin. And in fact, or Susie would say, and Susie might even say, well, in Latin it meant large gate. So it meant really the same thing, a portal. All right, thank you, Susie. All right, Elizabeth's into it too. I've got one. And I want to pause and say for a second that, I showed you in the last time that I'd go around if I had to, student by student by student, say, what's your word, what's your word, what's your word, and I'd make a mark. But that made it almost like punishment not to have a word, or duty to find a word. And Doc Blanchard, when I was a 10th grader that used this device, I don't remember him ever doing that, because he inspired us with a love of words. Well, maybe there were some kids that didn't pull their share. I don't know, but whenever possible, I did this by volunteer. Somebody who wanted to share a word, and I could usually get some, especially in the early part of my teaching career. Toward the end, I didn't use class vocabulary as much. Things had changed. Maybe I was losing some of my charisma, but in the first few years, I would take 4 words a day with 7th graders, and they were into it. Diadems. Now, I might spell that wrong. Elizabeth, do I have it right? Yep, got it right. So I underline it, and all the kids could write it down. Context, your diadems of gold. Okay, thank you. And Susie, where'd you get the word? And she said, Elizabeth. And she said, well, I went to the same corpus. It just happens I have one of those hymnals. And it's in one of the hymns, your diadems of gold. Part of speech. And once again, I think people should guess that it is something. It's modified with an adjective, your diadems. It must be something, sure enough, Elizabeth confirms it. It's a noun. So, anyone know what diadems are? Oh, and portals. I don't think there's much chance you'd mispronounce that. Portals. Diadems. Now, if it's a completely unfamiliar word, and I hadn't said it, kids might not know where to put that stress. There's 3 syllables there. Diadems. Diadems? Diadems? Diadems. There it is. And I'd have the kids listen and try to figure out where is the stressed syllable. Anyone know what diadems are? In this case, I'm thinking they maybe wouldn't. I wasn't sure myself either. I thought maybe it meant, I wasn't sure. I thought maybe a crown. I've seen the word before, but I never looked it up. And so I'd go to Elizabeth and say, well, Elizabeth, what does this mean? Sometimes I would guess myself. If it was a completely unfamiliar word to me, I would guess myself, but usually I would not. What does it mean, Elizabeth? And she would say, well, it's a headband, an ornamental headband, or like a crown. And you could probably write down crown. That would work, crowns. But once again, I would make that plural for the sake of parallelism. The etymology. Anyone want to guess? This is an unusual looking word, and I might get guesses from all over the place. And in this case, of course I looked it up already to get ready, and I found it was quite interesting, diadems. The answer would be, if you took it back as far as you could, where is it? There it is, diadem. If you took it back as far as you could, it would take you to Greek. It was in Middle English, and it shows how it was spelled. It got there from Old French, it got there from Latin, and it got into Latin from Greek. And it meant to bind something around. So it's Greek. And I don't know, you might guess that was Greek. But what I think is interesting is that then it goes on and says, akin to. Now see, that's a short word, and the dictionary uses it all over the place. It means related to, akin to. And it turns out that this word in Greek is related to a word in Sanskrit. Now Sanskrit is that ancient language of India. And in the first year, when I was studying where did English come from, I discussed Indo-European and how they figured out that language must have existed. And sometimes you'll have words that appear in all these distant languages. Well, Sanskrit is pretty far distant from Greek. And yet, in Sanskrit, it says that there is a word which means a rope, the Sanskrit word for rope. And it means something bound around your head. All right, thank you, Elizabeth. That was a really interesting word. Okay, one more word, Frank's. He can't wait because he's in it. Round yon virgin mother. Yon, and I'd spell it. It's right, yep, it's right. All you kids write it now. Round yon virgin mother. And probably everybody would know that where he got that from. and it came from Silent Night. Round yon Virgin Mother and Child. Now, I had said when I was teaching this, I was saying that as lot of little kids, or at least it's kind of a joke to say, well, round yon sounds like round John, and round John Virgin. I said before, probably a lot of people say, who is this guy? The mother's there, the child's there, and there's round John Virgin. What's he doing there? Well, it's a virgin mother. This is a phrasal noun, of course. But anyway, so what part of speech is it? Yon Virgin Mother. If this were the phrasal noun, it would be a noun. But anyway, after various guesses, it would be an adjective. Oops, adjective. It's modifying Virgin Mother. So anyone know what it means? Yon Virgin Mother. And probably some kid might know. And when you look it up, it means that. Although, as I said before, this is an interesting word. Because the ability to say that with just one word in English seems to have disappeared. That's visible. That yonder. But yonder is also, yonder means over there, so that over there. That isn't quite the same. But anyway, I would say maybe that over there, maybe. I hadn't thought about how it said in the dictionary, it said that yonder, that over there, mother, a virgin mother. The etymology, where does that word come from? Well, I'd take various guesses, and I think I have it here. I should mark these so I could save time and just go right straight to them, because I do get myself ready in advance. Yawn. Oh, I'm sorry. There it is, yawn. Yonder. Well, you see, it can be an adjective. You got several choices, but in any case, the etymology is in the first one. I'd take various guesses, and it comes from Old English. It is related to Old High German, and also Greek. It's one of those ones that goes around kind of the bend. So anyway, Old High German, Old English. Before you say that it's simply related. All right, sentences. Go around the class. The portals. Elizabeth says, those carpenters should begin the portals. To build the portals. Okay, yeah, good. That's diadems. Diadems. I wore a diadem to the prom, says Susie. Fine. How about yawn? Could you give me yon pencil? Says Frank, who really likes his words. Very good. How about two in one sentence? The queen wearing the diadem came through the portal. Good, says Elizabeth. How about, hey, just wants any action? Yon diadem is expensive. Yeah, I guess I'd take that. Is there enough there for yon? Yon diadem is very valuable. Yeah, okay. How about yon and portals? Yon portals are shut. Yeah, that's fine too. How about all three? And once again, I'm going to wait. Maybe before the week's out, I'll get a comment that puts these three in one sentence and begins to join the game and play with these words. All right, well, I'll see you the day after tomorrow with class vocabulary. Tomorrow, I'm going back to James Burke. Bye for now.